So this episode is sponsored by Evolve Bootcamp, my outdoor functional fitness program that delivers a sense of warmth, friendliness, and spirit, along with butt-kicking, hellishly fun-filled workouts that embody a caring attitude, evoking the idea everybody that exercises outside has no boundaries and naturally evolves. Class begins at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mention this podcast and come by for a trial class at the Boston Common if you dare. Welcome to the Evolve WMMA podcast featuring the greatest upcoming female fighters on the planet. They are women who have gone against conventional thinking to pursue their dreams. These fighters inspire, empower, and unleash excellence within a new generation of female warriors as they rise and evolve into the best possible version of themselves through the power of mixed martial arts. Hey, 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 this is Evolve WMMA, and I'm your host, Shelly Devine. So this week's guest is all the way from Hawaii, and right about now I'd like to be there. It's cold and rainy here in Boston. Well, she's a black belt in Taekwondo who started her MMA journey back in 2008 at the age of 15 years old. She had her first pro debut back in 2015, but she had a setback dealing with some injuries and a battle with substance abuse. Most recently, she made her way back to MMA after 4 years, celebrating 2 years of sobriety. She's now 2-0 with a recent unanimous decision win against Tina Pettigrew. I'd like to welcome to the show Invicta FC Bantamweight newcomer, Monica Fearless Franco. Hey, so welcome, Monica. Welcome to the show, and congratulations on your recent win at Invicta 39. You had quite the run there in that 3-round. You guys. I mean, what a great fight against Tina Pettigrew. I mean, were you thrilled? I mean, you must be thrilled.
Yeah, beyond thrilled. I was super ecstatic for sure. But just super grateful at the same time, more than anything, just to be there, just the whole experience was awesome.
Yeah, I was, I just looked at the fight again, for a second time, and I was like, wow, okay, so maybe, you're kind of like, okay, what were the judges thinking and stuff? Because I think Tina looked a little surprised, but then, that she didn't win. And,
right.
And how did you feel about that?
I'm, about her reaction, or how did I feel
about the whole thing? It was a unanimous decision. Did you feel like it was the correct decision, like if you've seen it again? Or because she didn't feel like it was. I have my own opinion, and I'll get into it afterwards, but I just wanted to hear what you thought about the whole thing, because usually when you win like that, sometimes people say things and
right. I personally thought I won. I didn't necessarily think maybe unanimously. I was thinking possibly she took the first, but I felt comfortable enough knowing that I did enough in the second and the third to take those 2 rounds. Yeah. But when it's the judges, it's always hard to, you don't know what they're going to say. Yeah. But I mean, I felt like I did enough in the second and the third round, at least, to get the win. So, yeah.
It must have been pretty exciting to start the whole show off that night. I mean, you're a newcomer to Invicta, and did you have a little bit of nerves going in there?
Yeah, small kind. I mean, I've been doing it for so long, and throughout the journey, you kind of learn how to deal with those nerves. Like, they were there, but it was more, for me, I felt more focused and centered and just ready to go and do what I knew I was capable of doing. And I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I mean, the first round, you really shocked me with that spinning head kick. like that you
Yeah.
landed. I was like, damn, wow, I didn't see that coming. I'm like, even with your Taekwondo, I mean, I knew about the Taekwondo background, but I was like, I still didn't see that coming. And I'm sure she didn't either. I think she looked like, whoa, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
That was a little bit of it was a shocker. I was like, whoa, okay, cool. And then
Good. I'm glad.
yeah, and then your style. I have to say, I could see that it threw off Tina like big time. Like she just, I don't think in that second round knew what to do or how to approach you. And the only thing I would say that made me nervous is your hands being down. But other than that, I was like, damn, this girl's changing her stance. She's moving around. She's doing all this just playing. Like, I mean, did you have fun in that round or what?
I did. I had a lot of fun. I've been out for, a while, but in that time, there's been a lot of things that I've worked on as a fighter that I was excited to showcase. And one of those things is my movement. I can fight, right hand, left hand, back.
Yeah. And back striking, like, you had that forward pressure, but you could pound away like on your heels basically.
Right.
And I was like, damn, this girl knows how to fight. This is a dangerous person.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you point that out. Yeah, I definitely feel comfortable moving forward or backwards and being able to land significant strikes going either way.
Yeah, because you definitely did. I wondered, during the fight. I mean, I already knew you win, but like during the fight, what the judges were seeing, and if they would side with you or they would side with her, even in that second round. Obviously, they sided with you, but I was curious to see how they would, look at your style and say, to score it and give it to you. I was like so psyched that they did, because to me, anything that Tina threw was kind of half-hearted. Like she didn't really throw anything at you that was like, I think she didn't really know what to do. It seemed like her game was thrown off. She wanted to do the takedown and put you up against the fence, which that had no problem for you either. Like, I mean, that ground and pound in the frickin' third round, man. You did a little shoulder, like a little shoulder toss, and those little short elbows. I was like, damn, this girl is super dangerous. So I can't even wait to see your next fight. That's my whole point.
Thank you.
And now you got a contract with Invicta. You psyched?
Yes. Bruh, like super psych, and just like, it couldn't have gone any better, you know what I mean? And I'm just so like, I'm excited to get back in there. And I'm going to be going down to flyweight. So I feel like I'll be able to showcase a little bit more, with girls my size, because they're a little bit bigger in the bantamweight division. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm moving back down so that I can showcase more and give you guys more exciting fights. I'm glad that.
So why go down to flyweight? Is that's your more normal weight class, or?
I fought there more than I have as a bantamweight actually. And then like I said, I just feel like I'll be able to showcase more with girls more my size, because they are a little bit bigger in the bantamweight division.
So did you feel like Tina was bigger than you?
As far as like mass and stuff, for sure, I definitely do. And sometimes, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she was strong. Yeah. So her pressing me up against the cage and stuff, sometimes it's a little bit hard to peel them off. And I'm not saying that it's gonna be easy with the flyweights, but I just feel like I might be able to be a little bit more mobile, more scrambles and that kind of things going on with like the flyweight division.
Sure. Yeah. I would imagine too, if somebody's just more your weight, like normal, it must be completely different. Because I know when I spar with the girls at the gym, I'm like, wow, I just went with one of these guys and now I go with somebody else. I'm like, this is so much easier.
Exactly.
Like, wow, I can actually move. And I'm like, wow, I'm like not afraid I'm gonna get like my legs punched out or whatever. But that's really cool. That'll be Interesting to see. So did Invicta just give you like a bantamweight contract, or can you fluctuate between flyweight and bantamweight?
I believe I'll be able to fluctuate because my manager's been in talks with them and he's been letting them know that I'm gonna move down to flyweight and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've heard, like they're okay with that. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Now, do you have any challenges with weight cutting or anything like that? I read in your bio that at one point you were having some issues earlier on, like
Right.
back, a few years ago with weight
Right.
cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to. I did it the wrong way. Obviously it comes down to nutrition.
Yeah.
So the way that it was done and not being educated or not having like a fight nutritionist help me
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit tricky to
Mm-hmm.
navigate. And I found myself in these really big deficits
Mm-hmm.
and cutting crazy weight and then just being not up to par the following night,
Sure. Yeah.
and then when that happens, your body sucks everything back up, and then they want you to fight again in a couple of months. My body's holding everything for a good month or so, and then repeating the process of trying to cut that much weight in a month is so the cycle kind of continued for about four of my fights. So
yeah,
it was
will you
tricky.
have to cut much weight to go to flyweight, or no?
This time around, no, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I think it'll be done correctly. Like I've already started up with my nutritionist this past Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just, I'm assuming I won't be fighting for a few months or so, so that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to work our way down naturally, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think it'll be okay this time around.
Wow. Well, yeah, I don't know too much about, about cutting weight or anything like that and what you
Right.
guys go through. I just hear all these, like, oh, my body's just not dropping. And you guys are already so lean to begin with,
Right.
when we see you guys on TV and we're watching you guys, in your training and stuff. And it's like, wow, where are they, where are they getting rid of it? Like, I'm like, how do they do that? I'm like, geez. So it must be, and being put in the hospital for it, getting an IV or something like that because you depleted your system or whatever. I can't even imagine going to those lengths, and trying
that
to
one was
figure
pretty
that out.
horrible.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you're risking your life,
Yeah.
I mean, to make weight, it doesn't, that you can't do that.
Yeah, definitely. Lessons learned.
Yeah.
All hard lessons learned.
But you've learned them.
Yes.
So tell me, how did you get involved in mixed martial arts? You started Taekwondo when you were like 15, and then how did that how did you transition?
Taekwondo, like where I first started, that was like kind of always my outlet, I guess you could say, because growing up I was like an introvert in a way, and I wasn't like a popular kid or whatever. And I would get picked, I'd get teased or picked on, not like anything severe like some people, but enough to kind of make you feel self-conscious, I guess you could say. Like I always wanted to try like high school sports and stuff like that, but at that point I was already too self-conscious from my upbringing. So I found Taekwondo and I fell in love with it. It was my outlet. I got my black belt in Taekwondo, and at one point I had like Olympic ambitions for that, but I had gotten injured, and I kind of thought that was like the end of my world at that time, because me like thinking, oh no, I'm injured, this is the end, like not thinking like, okay, you can rehab and all this stuff.
Right. What kind of injury was it?
It was just like a really bad ankle injury. I don't think I broke it. I don't think I tore it, but it took me out of being able to compete in junior nationals that year. So then, that kind of prompted I went off track in my journey and, did things in life that that wasn't like benefiting me. And then I got back into Taekwondo just for like training purposes. And then I went with my friend to a fight in the Blaisdell down here, and I believe the promotion was Elite XC, and I saw Gina Carano and Tanya Evinger fighting. And that fight sparked my interest in the MMA realm. So from, from Taekwondo, watching the fight, and I've always loved to like punch and stuff like that too. And Taekwondo is primarily kicking. That's how you score your points.
Yeah.
And I just loved like the fact that you could punch and do all these things. And
is that why you keep your hands down? I was like, she's Taekwondo, that's why her hands are down. It drove me crazy. I was
possibly.
Like, oh my God, get your hands up.
Okay, get ready to be even more crazy in my next fights, because you'll see it.
I'm like, wow, like you just had that, like, the move back and forth, and oh my gosh, I'm like, wow, I love it.
Yeah,
It
good. I'm
like,
glad.
oh my God, put your hands up, protect your head, because you never know if something's coming.
Yeah. But that is how I got started in the MMA realm. I think that was like 2000, like late 2008, early 2009. So yeah.
Wow. Very good. So was Gina Carano, she was definitely like an influence in getting you like into MMA, huh? She did a lot.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And even the fight with her and Julie Kedzie, I love that fight. That was a great fight too,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, and you were like, how old then? Like 15, 16, 17?
When I started Taekwondo, or when I started
No,
MMA?
when you saw Gina, and how old were you?
Oh, no, I was like 20, at least 25 by that point.
Oh, okay. How old are you now?
Guess.
I think I was going to say 25, and now I know you're not. So
yes.
How old are you?
I'm 35. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate it.
You're kicking butt now. Good for you. That's awesome.
I usually get that though.
Did you have to go through like some weird tests before you had to fight? Because I know there was some talk just recently online about like all the medical records that the women need, and you need special ones for 35 or beyond. I think, I don't know.
Oh really? No,
in some of the states require different things. I mean, obviously a pregnancy test, but there was some other like weird tests that they were making the girls have that guys don't have to have. And it's like, why?
So far, no. All normal.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So, and they were talking about trying to move it up to, I don't know, 40 or 45 or something like that. I don't know. There was some little thing. I'll have to look into that a little bit more, but there was some talk about that. And I didn't know if you encountered any of that, but apparently not, which is a good thing.
Yeah, for reals.
Yeah. So, who would you say has played a meaningful role in your journey and influenced you in a positive way?
I always talk about my mom and her sisters, my aunties. Like I said, I've stated it before, but they've always like just supported us in our dreams and our goals, and always believed, whatever craziness it was, like they've just always been supportive. This the hard work and the values that I've seen. Not only did they instill in us, but just seeing their hard work and their work ethic was always around me. And considering the upbringing that they've had, like them choosing to do better for their ohana and their keiki, like I mean, just the list goes on and on, but they would definitely be my strong influences in the person that I am today, along with so many other people, but especially them, for sure.
Yes, that's great. I mean, it's good to have good family behind you. Is that what you mean by ohana, your family?
Yes. Yeah.
And what was the other word you said? Kiki?
When?
What was you said ohana and titi or kiki?
Oh, no. No, I didn't.
I don't know what it was. I'll be like, you said ohana, like my ohana and I don't know what it was.
Sorry.
It's okay. I just figured it's Hawaiian, and I'm like, I don't know I don't know what Ohana, I was like, okay, that's family. But for
Yeah.
listeners, if they don't know what you mean by that, it means family
Yeah.
and love your loved ones,
Or,
your
s-
extended
or
family.
right. Oh, aunties. Maybe I said aunties.
Aunties,
No.
maybe that is your aunts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aunties.
Down here we say
Okay.
auntie. So aunties,
Okay.
my aunties.
You have a lot of women around you.
Yes.
Do any
Yeah.
of
Definitely.
them how do they feel about you being a fighter?
In the beginning, my parents were obviously nervous, and it was a new realm for them. They had seen me compete in taekwondo and stuff like that,
Mm,
but I guess a little bit nerve wracking. But the more you do it, and the longer you do it, and they see that it's a sport, and they see the skill that I have, the more comfortable they've become with it.
mhm,
So some of my aunties though, like they've never seen any of my live fights, so like it kind of was new for them.
mhm.
But they they were a little bit nervous but also excited, and so yeah, now they're just excited for me and happy for me, and
That's
you
great.
know
Do you have
yeah.
other siblings too, or do you have sisters,
I
brothers?
have
Or
one brother. It's just me and him, and he has a wife, and he has 8 keiki. So keiki means children.
ah, okay, that was the word, Jakey. That's the word.
Yeah.
Children. So he has 8 kids. Oh my gosh, you have 8 nieces and nephews. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But they're
So
good. So
they must think you're really cool, and they must want to come up and wrestle and whatever, right?
yeah, yeah, they try, but I mean, they I learn a lot from them. So, but yeah, I try not to like make it a big deal. If
Mhm,
anything, like I can only hope that from my examples, this just shows them that, if you love what you do
mhm.
and you're good at it, or whatever, then just keep going for it, because I want them to hopefully fulfill their dreams and their goals. So hopefully through my examples, that
Mhm.
will eventually happen for them.
Yeah. So this wasn't an easy road for you to get back to,
Mm.
being into, getting an opportunity to fight for Invicta. Your last fight you won, but that was a little over a
Yeah.
year ago, right?
No, that was 2015, so it was like 5 years ago.
So,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So it was a while ago. Okay. And
Yeah.
yeah, so there was an interim before even getting
Hmm.
this fight. And I got to ask, how did you get this fight then? How did it
um
happen?
I always say I believe that it's just timing. I believe that it was um the help of my manager as well. Like he had Jillian DeCourcy in already in Invicta, and
Mm-hmm.
he had gotten some of his other girls into Invicta prior to, so that connection obviously helped. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think it was his support in working and pushing for that, and then just the timing of it all more than anything.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you friends with Jillian or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you? Yeah. So Jillian knew you, and then set you up with this manager, or?
Oh no, prior to this, I met Jillian through my manager.
Okay.
So I met my manager, like I had done a podcast a while ago, and I'm still friends with him. And I had asked him about like managers, and then he sent me to this person who sent me to my manager. So
Ah.
yeah,
Okay.
on social media, on Twitter.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just such a big gap, for you.
Hmm.
And I know, and you've had some struggles. You had some injuries that you had to overcome, and then you had a bout with substance abuse.
Yeah.
And for you to come back, I mean, the time wise, I mean, was it like after your last fight, I think in 2015, did you struggle with the substance abuse between now and
Hmm.
going into Invicta?
Yeah. My substance abuse problems happened way before this stretch had happened,
Mm-hmm.
but this was like probably um the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And um during that time, I just knew for myself that not only was this a hindrance for practically a big portion of my life, but I felt like if I didn't get that part together,
Mm.
then I wouldn't be able to reach my full potential in things. And that's when I really took the time to start working on myself, you know, go to therapy, because I battled with like depression as well.
Yeah.
So going to therapy and just learning the roots of my addictions and all of that stuff. And I mean, it wasn't easy.
No, I can
And
imagine.
yeah, just working through it and understanding things, understanding how to cope with things better, as opposed to these substances that I would turn to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, these past 5 years have probably been the most difficult because of the injuries and because of um, so many of my relapses that I had,
Mm.
but also the most beneficial in a way of learning from it and ultimately getting better from it. So it definitely, you know,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was a journey.
I can imagine so many people, especially nowadays, suffer with depression, suffer with
Hmm.
substance abuse. I mean, things are
Hmm.
easily available to people to
Sure.
get a hold of, compensate for whatever's going on emotionally, mentally,
Hmm. Hmm.
physically. Um, is this something that happened? It started when you were very young, and then you just
Hmm.
been battling it all along. The reason why I go into it is because you're here now and you're on a high level platform. Obviously, you're
Hmm.
fighting at Invicta, and you had a great win.
Hmm.
And it's something that you struggled with, but this is how you're making yourself. You're evolving. You're becoming a
Hmm.
better,
Hmm.
and then also to be able to stay there without having say other setbacks
Right.
is how do you what has been your process? I mean, I know you said that you've had counseling and stuff, but like depression, did you have to go back in and find, because I know what people that are suffering with depression now, and they
Right. Right.
they've had to, I mean, have some severe
Hmm.
intervention, and it was the only thing that could pull them out of it. I mean, what have you had to do, and how did martial arts play a role in your recovery and in getting a hold of yourself, so to
I
speak?
feel like, yeah, it's a good question. I feel like martial arts has been like a great outlet. Excuse me, I'm kind of getting over the flu,
Oh, it seems like
but
so many people from that show got the
I know,
flu.
I know. I definitely feel like it's been a great outlet for me in many cases. But sorry, I'm trying to remember your question. I
It's
just
just the,
feel,
okay, sorry.
oh no worries. I feel like as far as like being able to cope with the depression or like things like that was just learning how to be aware of triggers that may or may not happen,
Mm,
and like understanding that sometimes depression does come back,
mm,
and just knowing that it's may last long. I don't know how long it could last, but just like just for me, I'm not speaking on anybody else, but for me, just accepting that it's there and accepting that it's
mm,
a little bit uncomfortable, but it's gonna eventually pass. But also just like I said, just being aware of the triggers and what may or may not cause it. And then I think sometimes too, like the depression would make me revert to substances at certain points because I didn't want to feel
mm,
that uncomfortable feeling of being depressed, and I'd rather like numb it out with
mm,
whatever substance it was.
mm,
So knowing that like helps me stay away from like the substances and all that things. And then also knowing how bad it was for my health, because at a certain point like my body just wasn't handling the substances the way that it would used to. So I would just feel sick or like
mm,
weird heart palpitations and all of that stuff. So just always remembering how hard it was on my body
mm,
and how hard it was to come out of those relapses makes me, as far as like the substances is concerned, not going back to that, just remembering how difficult it was and what, like, how hard the journey was to get to where I am now.
Yeah. Was your depression triggered by an external event, some trauma, or
Right. Yeah.
it
For
is?
sure.
Yeah, it is from trauma to you
Yeah. At a younger age, for
at a
sure.
younger
Yeah.
age. Okay. Well, it's just, like depression is kind of tricky in that, like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's caused by trauma or a life event
Mm-hmm.
that is just emotionally overwhelming, and
Right.
trying
Right.
to handle it in your mind gets, it goes through that spiral of a downward spiral
Mm-hmm.
into, grief, despair, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And I often wonder sometimes, like there are some people that are just, nothing is happening and they get depressed. And
Right. Right. Right.
it's like, oh, how does that happen? I understand when somebody has like had something in their life and it just keeps, there's something external that trigger
Mm-hmm.
a memory or something. And then,
Right. Right.
you don't know how to process it,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
process it. And then going into doing other things or avoiding other things, um, it must be definitely a tough journey, and then coming out of it and putting yourself too on like a platform that's puts you in that spotlight,
Mm-hmm.
and going into that, and sometimes you don't know the emotions that you're going to feel
Mm-hmm.
when you're in those situations, like of beating somebody like in the cage. Or I noticed
Right.
in your amateur fights there was a lot more losses.
Right.
And during that time, I'm just curious as to, were you going through these battles with substance abuse during that time
Mm-hmm.
where you had
Yeah.
all those losses? And what was it like when you were in the cage? I mean, did the cage, help you? When you were in there, did that help
Mm-hmm.
you develop a stronger self-esteem? And, or would you like, have a fight and then go off and, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know what your preferred substance was, but then, go get high or something to forget stuff. I'm just
Right.
curious
Right.
as to how you dealt with it.
Yeah, I did have a lot of losses, and I do feel like, I mean, I was battling substance abuse then too. And then just like a lot of outside baggage, we like to call it, as far as
Mm,
like, whether it's like poor relationships that I feel probably played a factor. And then
mm,
obviously not the best nutrition. And then
mm,
obviously the substance abuse had all like, played a factor at some point in time with those losses. And I feel like, I mean, I didn't get overly like depressed from the losses. I feel like my outside life was, I felt like being in the cage was more where I wanted to be
mm-hmm,
sometimes than dealing with outside life or dealing with the things that I was dealing with.
mm-hmm,
So when I did get those losses, like, that's the thing that like made me hungrier to like want to get better,
mm-hmm.
and like want to train more and all of that stuff. So I feel like that, like, martial arts has kind of always been my happy place, I guess you could say,
That's great.
whether I had win or lose. So,
Wow,
but
that's great. Um, what would you say has led to your successes now? Like, what are maybe three things that have led to your success now?
I feel, like I said, before, being a student of the game more,
Mm-hmm,
and just really understanding and watching. Like, I like to watch a lot of old footage of like some of my favorite fighters and stuff, just because I like to emulate them.
mm-hmm,
And I watch their footage, I watch my footage, trying to like get better at the things that
mm-hmm,
um, I know I need to get better at. Just picking things apart and seeing where I could do better in this fight. Like, I've already discussed it with one of my teammates about some of the things that, after watching my fight like several times, some things that adjustments that I would have made here
Mhm.
and there to keep it standing more. I feel that consistency is super important, and um, just knowing that when you're consistent with something, that it pays off, you know. And then I just feel like hard
Mhm.
work and smart work, like both, you know, putting in the hard work but being smart about it has led to the success thus far. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and I mean, I know you asked for three, but I also do feel like mentally and
Mhm.
emotionally, I'm in a different place in my life now, and I feel like mental health is super important, and like some people don't realize how important it is. But to have, like, you know, because at some points in my career, my my mental health wasn't there, but my physical health was like there and it was okay. And then at other parts, like my it like was flip-flopped, you know, where
Mhm.
my mental health was okay, but then my physical wasn't always. So just kind of having all of that connected together now with the mental health, the
Mhm.
physical health, the emotional, I feel has led to success thus far.
That's awesome. So who are some of your favorite fighters? I'm like wondering, was Anderson Silva at all one of your favorite fighters?
Actually, it's so funny. Actually, it would be Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw, and
Okay.
Israel Adesanya.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Totally. But I was like, okay, who's our favorite guys? You know, like that's very cool. Wow. So do you have a story of a time in your journey as a martial artist where you encountered or experienced an aha moment of realization?
Yeah, I believe it was my professional debut. Um, that was like my fourth really bad weight cut in a row. I
Mm.
ended up in the ER for IV because when I was trying to rehydrate, you know, I kept throwing up and stuff. And you know, so I was in there, and I was in there till like probably 2 in the morning, but I didn't sleep till like 4 in the morning. And that night I went out and I competed, and not only did I fight free and just you know, go in there and be me, but I won. But my thing was, I felt like had I done it the correct way and the healthy way, that, you know, I could have done so much more, you know, like I just felt like there was just so much more untapped potential that I didn't tap into that night because my poor weight cuts and all of that stuff. So that was like an aha moment for me, just, you know, going in there and letting loose and,
Mhm.
you know, having fun, even though I was like, thought I was gonna die
Oh my goodness.
you know, day
Yeah. Like,
before.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, doing the bad weight cuts and then realizing that you had to put a team together and help you with the weight cuts and learn more about it.
Yeah,
This is yeah,
yeah.
complete aha. Like, oh, I got to really get after this, or I'm not going to be
Hmm.
able to do this for a long period of time, right? Wow.
Yeah, sure.
Is there a time where you experienced failure and how, what did you learn from it and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced so much failure in life. It's not
Yeah.
even funny. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like losses in the cage, and I mean, just life in general. Um, I think my battle with addiction and the failures that I've had with that, and the relapses that I had with that was probably the one that sticks out to me the most.
Mm.
But through every failure and relapse with that, um, I never lost the desire to want to change for the better, you know. And I think that slowly, that desire of wanting to change, and, you know, even though I was still, you know, doing, you know, drinking, smoking, whatever, like, I feel like that desire eventually enabled me to make small and steady steps towards that goal, to where years, we're talking literal years later of failures, of relapsing,
Mm.
years to where I finally am where I am today. Where, I mean, in May, it'll be 2 years of full sobriety, and that's never happened for me before. I
Wow.
literally never even went, like, I think the longest I had gone was like almost a year, and then the relapse had happened. So the fact that I'm going on 2 years soon is like, I'm super stoked.
That's
And
great. Wow.
yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, that's an internal, war that's been waged, I'm sure,
Yeah.
like that's
Mm-hmm.
a whole other kind of battle that, you know, we all have, and we all have our demons, I guess, that we,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
you got a battle in your mind of, and you never know when it's gonna hit you or whatever. But that's
Yeah.
that's awesome that you've been able to maintain for the last 2 years. It's great, and look at you. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you got some great opportunities ahead of you too, which is
Sure.
awesome, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
So, during that, like, dealing with the things that you have had to deal with, what has been your greatest challenge with dealing with, say, fear, and then overcoming fear?
My greatest challenges with fear, I would always say, like, my own personal insecurities with stuff. Like, uh, if I have to give an example, I guess, so I'll talk about just stepping in a cage. I'd always have like these ridiculous fears, like, oh, what if I look stupid? Or, just random stuff, or like, oh, what if, like, I lose, then, like, like, people aren't gonna like me and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I don't know, I have multiple fears, but um I think just like being okay with, like, being myself has helped me to overcome a lot of my insecurities,
Mhm.
and realizing that no matter what, like, at the end of the day, humans, they, some going like you, some not going like you, and it's okay. I just learning how to accept that.
Yeah.
And, like, just like, some people go and talk bad about you even if you're a good person, but
Mhm.
that's just life, that's just humans. And, criticisms will happen. So, fears of, like, criticisms and all that stuff, like, I just learn how to overcome that with just being okay that it's gonna happen, and just being myself no matter what. And staying mentally strong in that sense.
Yeah, I think we all got to do that for sure. Like,
Mhm.
you never know when, like, sometimes something external, especially when you're like, I mean, you're in the public eye now. So, I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many
sure,
trolls, and like on
sure.
social media that, will just post something. I know, like, I had posted something recently, and somebody, just, you know, put one word and question marks, but to me, I was offended because I was like, I'm like, he doesn't get what I mean. And I'm like, why am I even concerned about this? I don't even know this
Right,
person. You know what I mean? But
right.
it did get me a little, like, riled. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, why am I riled about this? I'm like, he's stupid. He doesn't know what the heck I'm talking about. That's all.
Right,
And he's just dumb. He
right.
needs to educate himself. And I'm not going to do it. If he doesn't know, too bad. You know?
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
just
there you
got to be
go.
like, why am I, like, having somebody draw my energy away from me? And it happens, though. I
Right.
feel like I've been
Yeah.
victim to it, just here and there. And I'm like, I can't even imagine if being on a, like what some of the female fighters over the years have had to deal with,
Right.
these people that come on and say these horrible things on threads and
Right.
Twitter and on Facebook and stuff. It just,
Right.
if you let it, it can really get out of hand. You have to have a sense of humor about it or something. Look at them
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
okay, I know who you are, you know?
Yeah. 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 No, for
You
real.
know?
For real. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I could see, like, if you had a loss or something, that's got to be tough to take because you beat yourself up, like
Right.
if you do lose, you beat yourself up and you're like, okay, I got to come back and, well, it was a good experience. And you got to, it's got to be tough, you
Right.
know,
Right.
totally has to be tough. So um, what are maybe three things that are essential to your leading a life of success and leading an empowered life now? Like, what are three things that are, that you gravitate to or
um,
utilize to help you in maintaining your sobriety even?
Right. I definitely lean on God for sure. I, without God, I am nothing. So that helps me to stay centered and focused. I feel like being humble and what is the word I'm looking for here? I guess I'll just stick with humble, because I mean, when you're humble, you can be receptive and open to self, not only your own self reflection, but if somebody's like coming that you're close with comes at you and says, you got to like keep yourself in check kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
then it's easier for me to accept and acknowledge like, oh yeah, like, I am being this way, and like start to change that. And then I think just being around good support system, whether it's my ohana or my teammates and my friends, keeping me grounded and keeping me like just normal everyday life. I feel like those things help me to um stay balanced. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's good. Okay, seems like a lot of fighters. I know I meditate, I pray. Um,
Yeah. Yes.
I try to connect with, something that's other than me.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
God, a
Yeah.
higher power, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Whatever you want to call it, whether
Yeah.
it's Buddha, the
Yeah.
universe, you
Yeah.
know.
I
I
mean,
agree.
being
I agree.
being Hawaiian, what is your how do you talk to source or God, or like what I mean, is it religious based, or is it, if you don't mind me asking, I'm just curious about
Well,
you being Hawaiian and everything.
yeah, I'm religious based. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So
Okay.
people know us as Mormons for the most
Yeah.
part, but
Okay.
I am religious based. So just prayer and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of that. Um
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just staying connected in that sense. And I guess you could say I read my scriptures and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's how
keeping
I.
definitely a positive mindset for sure. Like,
Yes,
and then
yes.
too, I think, meditation's huge. I mean, like it
Hmm.
just is such a great practice
Yes.
to reset the mind and to replenish
Hmm.
the mind, because the mind is really what messes, I think, people up
Yes.
a lot. you
Yeah, no,
know?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt inadequate or were told no because you were a woman?
I've never verbally been told no because of I was a woman, but like starting up in MMA, like especially because women's MMA wasn't, like grown or evolved to the point that it is now.
Hmm.
Like you go into these gyms and you already feel a little bit inadequate because they don't want to pair up with you. The boys don't want to pair up with you because you're a girl and you're like a newbie and stuff. Or like, even as it did progress, you come across other high level females that might not necessarily want to train with you because maybe they think you're not at their level or their skill set. So feeling inadequate in that sense. But I just always was the type like to show you rather than more than anything. So I just put in the hard work, and I eventually just, like prove myself, I guess, so to speak, more than anything, and had gained their respect.
Mhm.
Granted, like I'm the type of person, like no matter what, as long as you show me respect, I'll give you respect. I'm just that kind of a person.
Mhm.
But like in the world we live in, everybody's different. Sometimes you just gotta show and earn the respect. So I guess that's how I dealt with the feelings of inadequacy, was just by my work ethic
Mhm.
and my skill set and just proving myself.
Nice. What does it mean to be a female to you in this day and age? And how do you see being a female has evolved in our culture? in sports and over the course of your life?
I think the evolution of female athletes in general has really come a long way. Especially in women's MMA, I think we get a lot of attention for sure because we're just too in there, whereas opposed to like basketball or soccer, it's like a whole team and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like overall in general, I feel like it's been a good movement, and I feel like it's about time, so to speak, to just show what female athletes are capable of, whatever it is. And not only that, but for them to be able to show that they can have a positive impact on their communities or beyond their communities.
Mm-hmm.
You see it all the time, and I'm just very honored and privileged to be able to continue to see the progression that has happened with female, that whole
Yeah. Yeah. To be a part of it, to be a part of the evolution of it. Right.
thing.
Yeah. I
Taking
mean,
on
like, how cool is
small part of
that?
it.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, you are. I mean, like, still Invicta's only been around for, maybe less than 10 years, I think. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Less than 10 years.
yeah.
And so it's fairly new. And thankfully the UFC has been very supportive of it. And
Right.
I mean,
right.
there were other Strike Force showcased women's MMA.
Right.
Bellator
Right.
did. But, it's still fairly new. And so it's amazing to me because I'm watching all these, like fighters like yourself coming up, and you guys just keep getting better and better and better and start
Sweet.
doing other great things. And it's very neat to see. It's just really,
Awesome.
really neat to see. And that's why I do this, because I want to keep going,
That's cool.
which many other people want to do too. So I got a couple of fun questions for you. It's going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
And I'm going to say,
no worries.
Who is your favorite female fighter or MMA fighter, and why?
Definitely Rose Namajunas. I love her grace and the naturalness about her, and her humility, and I love how transparent she is about everything. And I love her fight style. She too comes from a taekwondo background, I believe. And she can bang. So
Sure.
and I just love the fact that she's just shaved her head, because she just said, you know what, beauty is beauty no matter what. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I respect her for that. So she's my favorite female
right.
fighter.
Made her life a little easier. She's like, I don't have to deal with this now. I can go
I
to the gym. I'm like,
I know.
Yeah. Right?
I know. I'm a man. If every female could pull that off, shoot, I think they would.
For sure.
Jeez,
just
I don't can. There's no way that I can.
Just the expense too. If you go and have your hair done at the hairdressers and stuff, having a haircut, getting it colored, I'm like, oh
yeah. Yeah.
All right, so here's the fun one. What female fighter do you love to hate, and why?
Okay, love to hate. Oh. Maybe Chris Cyborg. I've never kind of been the biggest fan of her fight style, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't really hate anybody. It'd probably be her. I don't know, because I feel like she has one fight style, and that's forward, and that's just bombarding you with punches. And I mean, I feel like, she's evolved, but I just feel like a lot of it is like bully fighting in a sense. And I don't know, I'm very much an martial arts person. I see the art in it. So I don't know, I just not the biggest fan of the way she fights.
And I'm just going to qualify. I use the word hate. I know whenever I ask that question, I know you fighters as a whole don't typically hate each other, but there are like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's ones that you really like to root for, and there's others you like, they're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
not
yeah,
my
yeah.
preference, and I like
Yep,
this
that's
one
the
better.
one.
And I'm like, and so that's really what I want to mean. But what I mean by it,
Fair
but
enough.
I really like to get like your reactions and make you uncomfortable just a little bit, because
Fair
it's
enough.
my only time that I can make you uncomfortable. You're in, like you go in the cage and you can like bang it out, but I'm like, I'm gonna make them squirm just a little bit in their chair,
Yeah.
because that's,
Hey,
I mean, like I don't get to
I
get
like
in the
it.
ring with them.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. I all good. But no, I get it. I get it. But I've never really been the biggest fan of her fight style.
Yeah, wow. I know so many people are. I've had an on and off with her. She gets so much attention, and
Mhm.
because she's reigned for such a long time, and she's such a tough fighter,
Mhm.
and she beat Gina Carano with a knockout, and I
Right.
was like bumming,
I
but
know, me
back in
too,
the
me
day,
too. Yeah,
and
exactly.
so I kind of, I guess I've been, watching her for a long time. So I'm kind of
Hmm.
like, I like her, but then I also, I feel very similar about it. It's like, I like her, but I don't like her, but I like her. And I'm glad she's there. She,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she gives something else to the sport for somebody to talk about and keep it alive for sure. And she is a great
Yeah.
fighter. Um, so who do you see yourself maybe fighting next? Any thoughts?
Honestly, no. I'm willing to fight anyone and everyone. I gotta look at the roster.
Right, and know
But
who your competition is, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. So I guess I'm a little uh clueless a little bit with that. But honestly
Mhm.
though, whoever they put me up against will be ready for. I mean, I hope that it's more of a striker based kind of a fighter, because I think that'd be great for
Mhm.
stylistic purposes. But I mean, at the same time, we'll be ready. We'll be ready for whoever, they want to throw at us next.
Yeah, I wonder when
So
that be. Maybe this summer or something, I hope.
hopefully,
Yeah,
that'd
sometime
be
soon.
great.
Um,
Yeah.
is there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with? Any parting words, or any shout outs to sponsors or your team or anything like that?
Yeah, I always send a big shout out to Jason Adams, my manager, for just the support and the belief, as well as the the hard work that he puts not only in for me but for all of his fighters. Shout out to always my ohana, my teammates, and my friends, because I always say this and I'll continue to say this: I would not be the person that I am today without any of them. And then I always am grateful for platforms and podcasters and people such as yourself. So thank you to you, Shelly,
Oh,
for this
thank you.
platform to be able to allow us to just speak and have a conversation and talk story, as local people like to say, talk story down
Yeah.
here. And my sponsors, I really need a list so that I can like shout it out, but
Mhm.
I can't think of the sponsors off the top of my head, but I will be better at that. But very grateful for my sponsors. And I always like to say, whatever it is that you guys are continuing to do in life, love in life, keep doing it, be consistent with it. I promise you that you'll get to where you want to be one day. And just keep working for it, and never give up. And I hope that you guys will continue to do great things in the future, including yourself, Shelly. And I
Thank you.
yeah, and I hope that we have more conversations one day.
I would love that. I really would love that. I love having returning guests. I've had a few so far.
Cool,
over the
cool.
course of since I've been doing this, which has been great. And I really like to see your progression as you evolve as a fighter, as a professional fighter, and
Yeah.
seeing all the great things that you will be doing in the near future as
Thank
as
you.
you evolve. This is so great to have you on and get to learn a little bit more about you. I know our listeners who probably, saw you fight the other night and who's that, so now they'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about you, and
Cool.
that's part of why we do this, and we enjoy seeing the fighters. Your fans want to see you, they want to hear from you, so this is really a
Awesome.
cool thing.
Awesome.
And thank you for making the time to come on, because like I said, you're all the way from Hawaii, so there's a big time difference here. And
Yeah.
so it was really nice of you to come on and maybe be in the middle of your training or whatever. I don't know. Maybe you had this week off and took a break for
Yeah.
a winning break,
Right,
a little
right.
vacation, and then hit it hard next week or something. I don't
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. Last week was my break. This week I'm slowly getting back into it. So yeah,
know.
you caught me at a good time.
That's great. I'm glad. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I will reach out again, and feel free to, if you know that you got a fight coming up or something you want to get on to help promote it, always reach out to me. These games. So
okay, we'll do.
See you soon. Thank you again for
okay.
coming on the show, Monica.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Boy, talk about kicking substance abuse in the teeth and moving forward and becoming, getting on Invicta like she did. I think that's awesome. I mean, she must have a great support system, and I'm happy that she's moving in the right direction and looking forward to seeing her fight in the near future. And congratulations on her Invicta contract. I'm sure it was, it's definitely well earned. So if you like what you heard today and are eager to hear more, never miss an episode from Evolve WMMA with moi, Shelley Devine, by remembering to subscribe, download on iTunes, or you can find us on Podomatic and Spotify at Evolve Women's MMA. Or if you prefer to watch, you can find a new episode on YouTube at Women's MMA. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps people find the show. And on that review, please mention Monica Franco and how she might have inspired or motivated you. And if nothing else, lastly, you can simply follow us at facebook.com/I love WMMA. This is Shelley Devine. Until next time, thanks for listening.